Folks, it is 3:14 a.m. Pacific time, and I'm going live. That was not the plan. I have endured for a near 24-hour stretch a power outage, and allow me for a brief moment in this cold open at now 3:14 a.m. Pacific time to quickly criticize the vast majority of energy companies in this great nation of ours, and more specifically in this case, Pacific Gas and Electric, who I don't know how they get away with the highway robbery that occurs on a literal daily basis for all the nearly 40 million residents of the state of California, although I guess Southern California has a different energy company. So even Bubba's getting riled up. He knows how ridiculous PG&E is in terms of ripping off their customers. I will happily start that fight if they dare come at me. PG&E, you're a bunch of crooks. And the state of California, the politicians, how have you allowed this company to rip off all the residents? The amount of money that the residents of California pay to this company for electricity, a need of ours. Not a want, not a luxury, a need. It's absurd. The point is, I had no power for nearly 24 hours. It was ridiculous. It's not like some huge storm with winds and torrential downpours were coming in. No, it was a little rain. There was no wind, barely anything, yet for nearly 24 hours, I don't have power. It's absurd. I watched a replay of the Golden State Warriors game taking on the Phoenix Suns tonight at Chase Center. And the original plan was I was going to watch that replay, and then I was going to host a show tomorrow afternoon to recap it and talk about what I saw. By the time I was finished watching the replay, I knew the Warriors won. I knew what the result was. It didn't matter. I was out of my seat. I was screaming on my TV. I was applauding performances by players, yes, like Jonathan Kuminga. Newsflash, great things happen when Jonathan Kuminga plays. That adage, which started right here on this program, exists for a reason. This kid's got skills. I've been advocating for playing time for this kid for 2.5 years now. And when he plays, he delivers consistently. You want consistent? Is that a word? From Jonathan Kuminga? Play the damn kid. He delivered tonight. Draymond Green showed what leadership means. Not just any style of leadership, the type of leadership that is at the forefront of a damn dynasty. It was entertaining as all hell. The Golden State Warriors won a game they had to win. I'm also going to hit the brakes a little bit on the excitement because even though that was a fantastic game, there will be some reality checks on the program tonight. Stay calm, Dub Nation. Do not expect more of this, and I'll tell you why, unless some certain things happen, right? But nonetheless, it was a huge win. Let's break it all down. Do not expect an A game from Cyrus Saatsaz. A B game possibly. It's now 3:17 a.m. Let's get into it. The Golden State Warriors thankfully snap out of a miserable funk and beat the Phoenix Suns. They stay above 500. We'll talk about what happened. This episode is for the vampires, folks. It's a live episode at 3:17 now a.m. Pacific time. If you consider yourself a vampire, this show is for you. I will read the chat and the comments. Come join the party. And a special open. The one that I normally use with my dear close friend, who him and I go back nearly 25 years now, Larry Kruger. I use this open for our show when we host together. I'm going to use it tonight because I think it's apropos that Bill O'Reilly jumps into the fray here. It's the Golden Days. Come join the party.
That is it for us today, and we will leave you with I can't do it. No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. And things suck. Woo! Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see.
Hey, now. Woo! It is Saturday night. stepping up for all 82, baby. I'm at least going to try. Here we go. Welcome to the Golden Days. I'm your host for the evening, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. That handle, hopefully, is super easy. I'm over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program is on all social media platforms at Golden Days Pod, or at least most. I don't know. Is Blue Sky still a thing? I have no idea. But nonetheless, that's where you can find the show. That's where you can find me on all the socials. Tonight's episode, before we get into it, on a ridiculously late live episode of Golden Days. And I got a few shout-outs in the chat. The love is going right back at you. Thank you so much. Gilbert Tablong watching from the Philippines. Hello. And I apologize that we were not live immediately after the Warriors and the Suns for a post-game show. Again, I was without power. And what's even worse is when that happens, I also don't have cellular service because I do live in the woods, and partly by choice and partly because it's cheaper in the Bay Area, place where I'm born and raised. Things do not cost now what they did when I was younger, regardless of, adjusting for, inflation and time pass and all that. No, things have gotten utterly insane in Northern California, like a lot of places, but in the Bay Area especially. So I live in the woods because it's a little bit cheaper, and also because I love it. I love the outdoors, I love the environment. I love being away from people. So, but nonetheless, this is a caveat to living in the woods, the occasional power outage when it's wintertime. But the cellular part of it is what really stings because I'm completely out of touch. I literally, for 12 hours straight, just played Grand Theft Auto because I don't need an internet connection for that. Side note, if you want one of the funnest experiences of your life, the games that, for those of us who played 20 years ago, whether it was on like the original PlayStation or Xbox, whatever you're playing it on, it's now on your mobile device, and they've upgraded them. So it's like playing all these games all over again. It's ridiculous. And if you're a bachelor like me who's enjoying the lifestyle, it's fun. So that's how I filled my time for like 12 plus hours besides sleep and eating and anyways, and I missed the Warriors game. I had no clue what was going on. Power comes back about 45 minutes after the game ends, and I start seeing all this information trickle down. And then I watch the replay, and my Lord, was that a game. And I apologize for all the personal information on tonight's episode. The Golden State Warriors winning this one 109-105 in a thriller that, look, they started the game off dominating. They were already ahead. Jonathan Kuminga comes in the game. He came off the bench like he has been. They step it up to a whole other gear. At the end of the first quarter, the Warriors led 34-27. And things were looking damn good at this point, right? Now, this is where, again, I want to advise some caution for Dub Nation, for people who are fans of the Golden State Warriors, for a couple of reasons here. First and foremost, the Phoenix Suns did not have Devin Booker. And you could argue that he's their best player. I know they got Kevin Durant. I'm fully aware of that. But Devin Booker is a badass mofo. He is one of the best players in the NBA, one of the best players in the world. May go down as one of the greatest players to ever don a Phoenix Suns jersey. He's out, and he normally plays really well against Golden State Warriors. They were also missing Nurkic, who got suspended, I believe, because of a tussle he got into the previous game. So the Phoenix Suns came into tonight. They're missing Devin Booker. They're missing Yusuf Nurkic. And that's huge. Here's the other reason why I advise Dub Nation to be wary of reading too much into this game in terms of the result. The Golden State Warriors are fine. Even now, the way this roster is constructed, they're fine when they're playing against teams with similar roster construction. Meaning, take a look at a team like the OKC Thunder. Take a look at a team like this Phoenix Suns squad. Minnesota's a weird one, right? The Warriors have had success against them, and that's an interesting outlier. We can say that for another day or night when my acumen and my sharpness mentally is way higher. I'm going to try to make it through tonight. Again, I do not stay up this late normally. I am not a night owl typically, But after watching that replay of the Warriors Suns tonight, it finished for me around 2:30 in the morning. I was so pumped up with adrenaline that I had to host a show, and I had to get this out there and talk about everything that went down tonight. A lot of interesting sound, like Draymond Green was literally like cussing out one of his teammates on the floor. I couldn't wait. We had to cover it. So with that said, I understand like by the end of the game, people are pumped. This was a huge win because they could have easily lost this game. They needed big plays. They're young, burgeoning potential superstar Jonathan Kuminga in less than 24 hours pours in back-to-back career-high 34-point games, the only player in the NBA this season to come off the bench and score 30 or more points in multiple games. Kaminga's just on fire, and they don't win that game without him. Tonight showed that the performance against the Clippers, again, less than 24 hours earlier, was not a fluke, was not, a high stat performance on an otherwise losing affair. No, they won, and they won because of Kaminga. It was a huge night. And in fact, I haven't even given love to my sponsors yet. And side note, I forgive me for not figuring out how to pronounce your name. Please forgive me for that. But some folks in the chat, I guess I'll try. Quen Tuhan Lang saying it's an early morning live for you. Awesome Young West 79 saying Dennis Schroeder hit some big shots. You're absolutely right at the end of the game. We'll talk about him later in the show. There's a lot to cover here. But yeah, a few folks from the Philippines joining us. Trace Linton in the chat saying that Steve Kerr needs to go. The Suns are a weaker team and the Warriors could have lost that. You're absolutely right. And that's where I want to, again, really advise caution for anyone that gets too excited about this game, because the Warriors can handle teams that are not huge. They've proven that. They beat the Thunder once, and they almost beat them a second time without Steph. They barely lost that other game. They beat the Suns team in large part because Mason Plumlee was the starting center, and their power forward was a guy I am not that familiar with until we watched him tonight, Ryan Dunn. I have no clue who this guy is. I have no idea what his background is. I just know he showed up tonight, and he scored 15 points on the Warriors in 26 minutes of play. The point is, the Warriors can handle a team like this, and Jonathan Kuminga, when he's a power forward against the team like this, is okay. It's when you start going up against the teams that have real power forwards, when Aaron Gordon is the opposition, when PJ Washington is the opposition. Yes, I'll even say Julius Randle, even though the Warriors did win those 2 out of 3 against Minnesota this year. Excuse me, in a playoff series, that freaks me the F out. The Warriors are going to play the Cleveland Cavaliers here soon. That has that front court of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I am not comfortable with Kuminga playing the 4 against front courts like that. I am very skeptical. I'm very concerned about what's to come in this next game, because Kaminga, if he plays the 3 against opponents like that, it's a whole different issue, because now he's dealing with people who he either has a physical advantage over, or at least it's a much closer matchup. But when he's dueling, when he's trying to fight for rebounds against Julius Randle, I hate watching that. That's a mismatch, and that's where Kaminga is clearly not a 4. But unfortunately, Steve Kerr is very slow to react to these kinds of things, as we've all seen. But regardless, so I just want to give some caution here in terms of being overly pumped up about this game. Now, with that said, they did win, and it was a borderline must-win game. Both Phoenix and the Warriors came into this game with even 15-15 records. So you did have urgency on both sides. For the Warriors to come out of this victorious, despite the fact that players like Kevin Durant were insanely good tonight. Durant poured in 31 points, added 6 rebounds, was 10 of 24 from the field. But you also saw fantastic defense on him by both Jonathan Kuminga and Draymond Green. Draymond Green with a pivotal play at the very end on Draymond Green, on Kevin Durant. I'm sorry, a fantastic defensive play by Draymond Green, and then Jonathan Kuminga had a series of defensive stops on Durant in the fourth quarter in these pivotal, huge moments. That matters, right? These high-pressure moments, players, whether or not they show up or they choke, it reveals a huge part of an individual's character in those kinds of moments. And to see Kaminga leading the charge, and to see Draymond encouraging him and saying and giving this effusive praise for the youngster, I think it's huge. It means a lot. And and that's why I'm hosting this again right now at 3:29 now a.m. Pacific time. Before we continue on, because we're going to start the show by talking about Jonathan Kuminga's night and something that Steve Kerr talked about, something that Draymond Green talked about, and something that I noticed as well, which I think could be that progression that a lot of folks have been waiting for from Jonathan Kuminga, that maybe will unleash him in terms of Kerr trusting him more so that he can get more minutes. As we've all seen, when the kid plays, he delivers. On both my threads and my Twitter accounts, I've posted the stats of what Jonathan Kuminga does when he actually gets 30 minutes or more a night, and that did not include these past two games, which only boosted these numbers. So we're going to talk about Kaminga. We're going to play some great sound pertaining to Draymond Green cussing out one of his teammates during the game. Very warranted. Steve Kerr giving effusive praise to Jonathan Kuminga after the game. But that progression in Kaminga's game specifically, I'm going to highlight what that is, at least what I'm seeing, which is huge. And again, in my opinion, it would have happened possibly years ago if the kid was just playing. But nonetheless, if Kaminga's gonna arise, better late than never. I think we're all, anyone at least who's a Warriors fan or at least wants success for this team, this is what we've been looking for and waiting for is this next level. So at a bare minimum, Steve Kerr, who has all the power, and I don't have any faith in Lacob, taking that power away from him. So if the Warriors are stuck with Steve Kerr, let's at least hope that Jonathan Kuminga does the right things in Kerr's eyes so that he plays. And then the more he plays, as you see it results in better outcomes for the Golden State Warriors themselves. And there just aren't a lot of options out there in terms of who you trade him for where you're getting equal value, right? The previous show I brought up the Portland Trailblazers being one of the only teams out there that could actually give back young talent for the Golden State Warriors so that they're not ripped off in any Jonathan Kuminga trade. Anyways, I don't want him traded in the first place. Let's hope that never becomes a thing. Let's hope, Kuminga becomes a fixture in this rotation and the rest is history. So we'll talk about that, tonight's game, and so much more after we give some love to our sponsors. Starting off, first and foremost, Vitamin Energy. And side note, January 13th of 2025, we'll be revealing our third sponsor of the program. Again, man, this thing will fill up. I was not being hyperbolic. I was not exaggerating and saying that. I can't have 10 sponsors on this show. It's just going to turn the product into just an infomercial, and we're not having that. So we're probably going to have to cap out at 5 or 6. And we're going to introduce our third sponsor again on January 13th. Super excited for that. This sponsor will particularly tie in with Rick Barry, who's going to officially have a weekly appearance on the show, and that's going to have a title sponsor, which will be this client. So stay tuned. And if any of you out there are a business owner or work for a company that you think would be a great fit and vice versa, we will do our best to make you happy. All you have to do is email us at warriors24pod@gmail.com. Someone will get back to you right away, and let's have a mutually beneficial relationship. And hopefully I can give you love the way I give Vitamin Energy love, and more specifically, their website, vitaminenergy.com. That's where you can put your orders in for a product. Again, energy-wise, comparable to like Red Bull, comparable to 5 Hour Energy, except it's actually good for you. So you don't have to feel guilty and your body doesn't have to pay a price. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code Golden Days. Days that's spelled like Dazed and Confused the movie. Again, use the promo code Golden Days. Doesn't matter if you use caps and all that stuff, but you will get 20% off at checkout, or just go to vitaminenergy.com/Golden Days to get that same 20% discount. And what Vitamin Energy just told me is that if we get enough sales, they have a threshold that they told me about that it doesn't matter saying it publicly, so it won't. But if you reach that threshold, I will be able to start offering a 30% discount. So get those orders in, and if you like it, Just keep using that promo code, and hopefully you'll start getting 30% off your order, which will be an absolute steal. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetOnline, who continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds from everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, college football playoffs, and so much more. Head to BetOnline today, and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE. It's the name of the network that we're on, and it's spelled uniquely, BLEAV. If you type those 5 letters in, BLEAV, you will get a welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, Jonathan Kuminga, what do we hear from this young, burgeoning star player who has tremendous potential? Oh, look at that. Look at that. A new Golden Dazer, by the way. Welcome. Does that mean I pronounced your name correctly? Quentuhan Lang. I hope I nailed that right. You also mentioned in your title that you have a podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it down there. It's, forgive me if I mispronounce this. I'm going to do my best. Wei Lang Personalan podcast. I hope I got that right. Anyways, thank you so much for being Golden Dazer. Welcome. J.S. Kobe in the chat, by the way, mentioning that some team is going to offer Kaminga a max contract this offseason. Most likely, good news, he's a restricted free agent, so all the Warriors have to do is match it, and they get to keep him. So that is the fantastic news about Jonathan Kuminga. The Warriors will not lose him if they want to keep him, but you're probably right. And especially if he's pouring in games like these, 34-point nights that are well-rounded with rebounds and other facets, and the defensive performance. I mean, I still cannot believe there were folks out there, and you're going to hear the haters just quiet down and eventually go away if Kaminga continues to deliver like this consistently. But it is insane that you still have people out there questioning Kaminga in terms of his defense. Is it perfect? Of course not. But there's only, 2 players on the Warriors who play better defense than Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins. So he's the 3rd best defensive player on your team. And yet the haters hate on him. It makes no damn sense to me. Nonetheless, I apologize. Yeah, he's not going anywhere, so don't worry about that. Young West saying Rick Barry is the man. Agreed, and that's why I'm super stoked to have a sponsored weekly segment with them. I'm really, really stoked about that. David Lay, right back at you in terms of being happy that we're on this late at night. Let's talk about Jonathan Kuminga, and more specifically, let's hear from him. He was one of the athletes in the postgame press conference, and he was asked immediately about his performance tonight. Let's just hear from the young man who, again, on a night like this, a lot of people are feeling great about him, and rightfully so. Let's hope this is just the start of great things to come. And here is Jonathan Kuminga talking about his 2nd straight 34-point performance in less than 24 hours. Insane. Here's Kaminga.
Steve Kerr said he thinks something broken through, something's happened here for you in the last week or so. Do you feel that way, that there's been a breakthrough, or do you just feel it's just a natural process for you?
I feel like it's a natural process. Everybody in the organization playing a big part of it, helping me throughout every situation, including my coaches, including Steve, including my teammates. Just trusting me, having that trust in me and stuff like that, And I feel like it's been like that all season, Like I always say before, if you play great, they always look at that, but they don't see it when you just play normal and you try to win. But I feel like, I just been trying to win, that's all.
How big did those free throws feel down the stretch?
I felt great. I missed a couple, I was nervous a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, I never been in that situation where I gotta go to the free throw and everybody's quiet, and I gotta make those free throws, And I'm glad and lucky I made those 2. So,
Has that?
And I'm really glad he talked about that, and he was very forthright. What he's talking about, Jonathan Kuminga was at the free throw line. The Warriors had I believe a 1 point. Or no, well, hold on. Now I got to pull it up because I forgot, and I'm such an idiot for that. Again, I apologize. 3:38 a.m. now. My A game, I will be very honest with you, is not now. But I could not help myself. And I had to host tonight. I'm going to go to the game log because I want to be very specific and accurate with how this went down regarding the free throws and Jonathan Kuminga. It was an important moment late in the game. And clearly one of the issues with Kaminga this year has been the free throw shooting. It's been abysmal. Entering tonight, it was hovering around 60%. Not something you compliment, not something you support. That number clearly has to go up. Last year, he shot 75%. I believe he's a career 73% free throw shooter. That might have even dropped to, I think, 71 because of this season. Anyways, with 29 seconds to play, the Golden State Warriors were down in this game 105-104. Kevin Durant had just made his second free throw. He was at the line. And the Suns had this long scoring drought, in large part because of the Warriors' defense. They were playing fantastic D, particularly late in the game. Much shorter rotation. When I tell you who sat out tonight, you might be a little surprised if you didn't pay attention closely. But anyways, so Jonathan Kuminga gets fouled because Jonathan Kuminga this entire night was a force from the moment he stepped into the game for the first time. Excuse me. He was a force. He had confidence. He had no fear when it came to attacking the paint and driving toward the rim. He knew that anytime he wanted to score, he had an opportunity to do so. And as long as that confidence is there, now that's not the progress I'm talking about. I'll explain what the progress that he's made in his game is not that, and I'll get into details in just a moment in terms of what I'm seeing and what I think Steve Kerr is seeing as well with his game, which is why he's starting to feel more comfortable. But Kaminga is, again, when he gets to the point where he realizes that he can just score anytime he wants. Like, he's not Giannis, but he's close to that, right? He can be close to that at least. And so he this game tonight, all he did pretty much every time he had the ball was just attack because he knew he was unstoppable. And watching that confidence was huge. He does it again late in the game. With 29 seconds remaining, he gets fouled by Durant trying to do this, attacking, right? Durant, like everyone else, was overwhelmed by all this. So Jonathan Kuminga goes to the free throw line, and this is where you felt the tension, right? The game's at Chase Center. The crowd's feeling it. Kaminga himself admitted he was feeling it, and I don't blame him. So these were big free throws, and he nailed them both. It was huge. And just like that, the Warriors went from being down one, looking at yet another heartbreaking loss, because just like last year, the Warriors are leading the NBA in clutch games, meaning close, within 5 points, I think, within 5 minutes of the game. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it's something in that vein. And, it wasn't looking good. People were not feeling great about the Warriors' chances at this point. Kaminga makes the 2 free throws. You even hear it in Fitzgerald's commentary, Bob Fitzgerald, the play-by-play broadcast for the Warriors. And the Warriors never looked back after that, and they ended up winning the game. It was huge. Jonathan Kuminga was your Vitamin Energy player of the game tonight. Again, go to vitaminenergy.com or go to vitaminenergy.com/Golden Days. And regardless, use the promo code Golden Days at checkout for 20% off. And the Vitamin Energy player of the game tonight was Jonathan Kuminga, again, not just for those free throws at the end, but because for the second game in a row, again, scores 34 points. He ties a career high that he set less than 24 hours before. On top of those 34 points, he also grabs 9 rebounds, so he came just 1 board shy of back-to-back double-doubles, added 3 assists. He was also 2 of 5 from the three-point line, and again, I'll explain to you the progression part of it because that has something to do with it. 12 of 20 from the field total, 8 of 12 from the free throw line, which is not great, by the way. That's 67%, but he made those 2 big ones at the end. That was massive. Made the difference. And he was a +9 in net rating. He also had a steal. That steal was on Kevin Durant. It was a fantastic game. There's no way to spin it. 34 points for the kid. I'll even show a graphic just to make the visual for the YouTube audience, just to accentuate that, add some aesthetic quality. Because, again, people love visuals. It sells. It works. So here's a visual for you. Again, just one night earlier. And that game tipped off at, 7 or 7:30? Tonight, the game tipped off, I believe, at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So in less than 24 hours, Jonathan Kuminga put up career-high scoring nights, set the career high, tied the career high, 34 points, 10 boards, 5 assists against the Clippers, 34 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists against the Phoenix Suns. And he, again, is your vitamin energy player of the game. And those free throws at the end, bravo, kid, you nailed it. That would have been massively bad if you had missed one or both of those. But that did not happen. So bravo to Jonathan Kuminga. Bravo again for being the player of the game, sponsored by Vitamin Energy. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code Golden Days for 20% off at checkout. Kaminga was incredible. And so the thing that I noticed in terms of his progression, and this is what I think Steve Kerr has noticed as well. And again, this is just what I'm seeing. Take it for what it's worth. If you're here, you're here for probably one of a few reasons, right? Either you're a Golden Dazer, you've been watching me for years, and thankfully you've hopefully know that I know what the hell I'm talking about, at least to a certain extent. I am a human being after all. I'm not perfect, far from it, but I got a small clue as to how this stuff works. You might have come here because of the algorithm. You might have just come here because you're a casual viewer or listener of the show. The point is, this is my analysis being applied to what I'm seeing with Jonathan Kuminga, and I think it also has to do with this commentary from Steve Kerr. Let me play this soundbite first. Steve Kerr offered effusive praise pertaining to his young forward, Jonathan Kuminga. And when you heard the question asked of Kaminga to start the press conference, it was in reference to this clip of Steve Kerr, who was asked about what he thought from Jonathan Kuminga's performance tonight. So let's hear from Kerr, who again we don't hear a lot of compliments from him when it comes to young players, but this one was full of compliments. So here's Steve Kerr talking about Jonathan Kuminga's 34-point night.
Just what was going on to get him free like that?
I just think he's turning a corner. I just think he's seeing the pictures well. He made a play late in the game where he swung the ball to Draymond, immediately pinned in for Steph, and Steph got a three. He didn't make it, but that's the play where you have to recognize Steph's your teammate. You see he's cutting through the lane, swing the ball, and go set a screen for him. And those are the type of plays that if he makes, and he's doing what he's doing, getting downhill, getting fouled, getting to the rim. Now the mix, the blend of Steph, Draymond, JK, now it starts to really get powerful. And I'm so impressed with JK. It just feels like he's turning a corner, and he played so hard last night and again tonight. The rebound at the end just before he got fouled, he came out of nowhere along the baseline to make that play. I think he had about 7 boards in the second half. It was fantastic, and this is exactly what we're looking for, and it's fun to see him, deliver.
And again, I don't think that means the Warriors are fine. Okay, the Suns are a small team. The Cleveland Cavaliers Monday will be a genuine test, and I actually don't know if Sophia Jones is going to join me for that Monday night. I hope she will. Stay tuned. Regardless, the only reason why I'm not sure is because I know that during the holidays she's very busy, but normally she joins me every Monday. Side note, I don't know if you noticed a lot of Valkyrie's swag being worn by the players. I think it's pretty cool. Again, I'm in, and I've been a WNBA skeptic most of my life, but I'm entertained now. I'm looking forward to these NBA off seasons where we have the WNBA as a distraction. Anyway, side note, total random thought there. Again, it is now 3:48 a.m. Pacific time. I'm exhausted, even though I love the fact that there are folks from like the Philippines, Australia, the East Coast jumping in. The East Coast folks, it's like the early risers are tuning in. So good morning to you. This is incredibly late for me. It's still Saturday night here on the West Coast. But what I'm seeing with Jonathan Kuminga, in terms of his progression and what I think Steve Kerr is saying, and to finish up my previous thought real fast, the Warriors cannot be complacent. They need to be aggressive and get a Nikola Vucevic. I saw in the chat someone, Mike Rios in the chat earlier wrote, the Warriors need to get Vucevic. He will open space for Kaminga to work and stop overhelping on defense. 1,000% agree with you. And he's available for so cheap. I really hope the Warriors don't blow it in that regard. They're just that one piece away. I do believe that fervently, especially after what I saw tonight and what we're seeing lately from Kaminga. But what I'm seeing with Kaminga ultimately, though, in terms of the subtle yet clear progression that I'm noticing with him, is the decisiveness. And I'll try to paint this as clearly as possible. And let me see. I thought I wrote it in my notes so I could be a little more eloquent, since I am tired. I'm not lying. I'm not gonna lie about that. I did it. It's okay. He has figured it out in terms of no longer catching the ball outside the 3-point line and sitting there holding on to the ball, deciding what he's going to do with it, right? And I'd love for each of you to pay attention moving forward after hearing this and then give me your thoughts. But what Kaminga's doing, and this has been especially these last few games, even more especially tonight, it was obvious tonight when I'm watching. When Kaminga gets the ball fed to him, or if he brings the ball up himself, because you're seeing him do that more and more, and he's doing a fantastic job of that, by the way. If he's not, you would see the turnovers reflect him being poor when it comes to ball handling. You don't see the turnover spiking up. He's doing a great job in terms of bringing the ball up the floor. But what you're seeing from him when he's at or near the 3-point line, whether he's bringing the ball up, whether he's catching the ball from a pass, there is no more sitting there holding it. And I don't know if that was intentional in terms of him maybe trying to put on a show for the defender. You see a lot of ISO players doing this where they just kind of hold it, and you see the shot clock wind down a little bit. And Kaminga stopped doing that. He's not doing that anymore. Like when he gets fed the ball, it's just catch and either shoot if he's wide open, which is awesome on that note because his feet are set. They're not being rushed or forced. And he's being way more selective on that note as well. But when he's in that position, whether he's fed the ball as a pass, whether he brings the ball up himself, there is no more him just standing there. There is now him either shooting, passing immediately, or attacking immediately. And I guarantee Steve Kerr we saw him grinning at the end of tonight's game. In his head, it must be a shit-eating grin, and because he must know just how special of a talent Jonathan Kuminga could be. He just has no patience for the development process of it, which is unfortunate, and has cost the Warriors these last 2+ years. Because what we're seeing with Kaminga now, chances are we could have seen it years ago. That's where the bulk of my critique has come from. And Kaminga's not waiting anymore. He's not thinking anymore. He literally is making split-second decisions to set up the offense, and that catches the defense off guard. It reduces the amount of time wasted on the shot clock. That's the part that to me is most beneficial. Is you're allowing your offense to have more time to set up plays and to find the best opportunities to score. And again, the more you pass the ball, the more likely it is that the defense is going to fall behind because the ball moves faster than the player, right? So the more you're passing it, the more behind the defense is falling. But at the same time, by Kaminga just doing these split-second, like without any thought, just attacking or just shooting or just passing, The defense has zero time to respond. There is no reflex there from the defense. It's just them seeing it happen and then reacting to it and being too late at that point. And the fact that Kaminga's doing that now, again, that is called progression in your game. That is him maturing before our eyes. And let's just hope this is just the beginning of a lot of beautiful things to come. I really do hope so. Now, and Quentuhan Lang saying that Kerr's got to play Kaminga more now or he definitely should be fired. I saw, and Jill Espina, by the way, and I promise you, I'm going to talk about Trayce Jackson-Davis because he deserves some time. He had a great night. He has had a great stretch of games. He will be a topic of conversation, I promise you that, because Jill Espina in the chat saying that the Warriors now have two guys to lob to, Trayce Jackson-Davis and Jonathan Kuminga. You're right. Trayce Jackson-Davis is also improving offensively and defensively. And I'll talk about him in a moment too, because there is a progression there as well. I promise. It's just Kuminga's he's the headliner for tonight and naturally so. A young West 79 saying that Kaminga needs 35 plus minutes a game. Wholeheartedly agree. Against Stephen Curry, his rookie year averaged 36 minutes a game. Give him those minutes. He's one of the best players on this team. It's asinine if you don't. Now, Brandon Pajemski in this game. We didn't see him after, I believe, the second quarter, and I saw a report that said he sustained some injury, and please forgive me for not being informed well on that topic. And in fact, if someone in the chat wants to kind of, add something to that, please do. I saw a note that, and again, I was in a power outage during the entire game, so all the information I got was after the fact. But nonetheless, the second quarter of this game, in the same way that the Warriors were dominating, maybe that's a strong word, but it looked the part. They passed the eye test the first quarter. They were the better team in the first quarter, and the score reflected that. They were up after one, 34-27. The offense finally was productive. And to give you some numbers in that first quarter, in terms of what happened there with this beautiful start. Kaminga had 12 points. Right off the bat. He was 5 of 7 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep. He had 12. Stephen Curry had 8 points in that first quarter. 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 4 from deep. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis also had 7 points in that opening quarter. Those are the three leading the way. The point is, and those you could argue at this present moment, meaning at 3:56 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to fade here very fast. On December, now technically 29th, is the night of the 28th. Yes, those three, I think at this exact moment might be, and Draymond Green as well, and then Wiggins maybe, but they're three of your best players. And they had an awesome first quarter. Then the second quarter happened. The Golden State Warriors in the second quarter were outscored 38-27. And what we saw in that second quarter, which was absolutely brutal, were the typical three-guard lineups. It was a lot of Pajemski. It was a lot of Lindy Waters III. We got DNPs tonight. The Warriors had a much shorter rotation tonight. We got DNPs from Kyle Anderson. I don't know why. I never understand why he's not getting a longer run. I mean, what was the point of signing him? DNP from Kevon Looney. I thought that was interesting. DNP for Moses Moody, although he sat out because of injury management. So he was on the injury report, and it was not a DNP because of performance. GP2, same story. He got a DNP not because of performance, but because of, or not because of a coach's decision, but because of injury. He's dealing with the left calf strain. Regardless, so we had a 9-man rotation that we witnessed for the Golden State Warriors. Brandon Pajemski played just 11 minutes and 22 seconds in this game. Did not see him at all in the second half. And you could make the argument that's why the team turned things around. That's why the team fell behind in the second quarter the way they did. One thing is clearly not working here with the Golden State Warriors, and that is Brandon Pajemski playing minutes alongside Steph, alongside Schroeder, as part of 3-guard lineups, that is not working. That needs to be abandoned immediately. You have Dennis Schroeder on your team. Kaminga's taken on more ball handling responsibilities. Draymond Green's a ball handler. You have enough. Wiggins can bring the ball up. It's absurd. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't mind the Brandon Podziemski minutes if he's a backup point guard. He's at this point in his career. And again, he could someday be the successor to Stephen Curry. And I don't mean that in terms of like the points and what Stephen Curry does. I mean positionally, right? Like Stephen Curry is going to go down arguably as the greatest point guard ever. Podziemski's not going to be that, but Podziemski could be a fantastic traditional point guard, right? Where he's the facilitator, where he's looking to set everyone else up, but then you have to have other players on the team who pick up that scoring slack for Stephen Curry. I could see that being a role for Brandon Podziemski. Him being out there alongside these point guards, playing the role of a 2-guard, absolutely does not work. He gets, you see opposing players blow by him in terms of his defense. And they're blown by Steph. They're sometimes blown by Dennis Schroeder. I mean, your defense, and again, 38 points in the second quarter the Golden State Warriors gave up, and that's been happening a lot. And the Brandon Podziemski part of this, and I don't mean to pile on him, okay? Because again, I think long-term he's going to be okay, but that kid is in his head. There was a possession in this game, and this also happened in the second quarter, where Stephen Curry found Podziemski on the baseline. Podziemski was running on the baseline towards the basket. He was wide open. Stephen Curry found him, would have been like the easiest layup imaginable. But instead, Podziemski, instead of taking this easy layup, like the easiest layup imaginable, side note, by the way, the movie Hustlers, like the strip club movie with Jennifer Lopez and a couple other people. It's on my TV right now. I got distracted. Back to the show. Podziemski just passed it up. He passed it to Lindy Waters III, and Lindy Waters III had his shot blocked. That sequence, like that was enough for me to come to a conclusion with Podziemski. The kid is in his head. That's the kind of stuff that Ben Simmons was doing. I know. In Ben Simmons' case, it was more. I think it had to do more with the free throws. But the point is, they gotta lay off Podziemski in terms of relying on him for defense, for scoring. Either send him to Santa Cruz or reduce the minutes. This is too much. I mean, I don't think this helps Steph. This doesn't help the team. The point is, and Ramar Hernandez in the chat writing that sad but true, Brandon Podziemski was on Shaq in the Fool. Was it twice? Kev F. Deal. Kev F saying that 4 a.m. It's now 4 a.m. A 4 a.m. Hustlers references deserve music, and I agree with that. So let me get the music real fast. There we go. Moving on. The point is the Podziemski minutes. If you want to start pinpointing specifics for why the Warriors are struggling, that's probably the top of the list. Even more so than the fact that the Warriors are such a damn small team. All of that also does correlate because Podziemski oftentimes is out there as your shooting guard, maybe your small forward. That experiment needs to end. Like that is Kerr failing at his job to continue insisting on that. It's not working. Okay. So, and I'm guessing other people noticed that passed up layup as well. Ramar Hernandez mentioning the passes the layup. Young West 79 noticed it as well. And Young West, by the way, also bringing up that Stephen Curry magician play. I'm not ignoring that. Stephen Curry at the end of the first half, check that out. It's on my socials. It's on every social with wizardry, with magician work. One of it, at 36, still pulling like play of the year type highlights with a first half buzzer beater where he goes behind his back, flips it up, it goes in, and then he's of course like he's got the theatric style, he's got the look. Like, did I just do that? What? That was awesome. Anyway, so yeah, and KevF adding that nobody's scared of Podziemski driving. It's not working. And again, I please do not take this as Podziemski hate, because I think the kid has a future with this team, and I don't think his rookie year was an anomaly. The sophomore slump to me is such a lame cop-out excuse. I know there's some reason for the adage to exist, but there's plenty of second-year players that have not slumped. And look, there was too much of a burden on his plate, and he's being forced out of position. Make him play the point as a backup, limit his minutes to 10, 15 a night, and he's fine. Anything more than that, and you're hurting the entire team. You're forcing something that just at this point in time is not working. So that is not lost on me at all. And the Sideshow Bob reference, of course, pertaining to he needs a haircut too. I do agree with that. Jeff's cool mentioning in the chat that Kerr makes the young guys overthink. Agreed there as well. Now, speaking of overthinking and speaking of coaching and leadership, there is someone on the Warriors who did exude, who embodied what leadership is, what leadership for a dynasty is, and that's Draymond Green. I'm going to play this clip real fast, and if you're watching the recording of this show, and you notice that there is no clip, it's because YouTube censored it. Because, again, the NBA, I don't know how people get away with having entire episodes where they're drawing up plays, they're scrutinizing plays, because the NBA, every time I show anything pertaining to basketball action, they're flagging it. And maybe these people just are not making money on these episodes. I don't know what's going on. But regardless, so if you don't see an actual basketball play, that's why. But I'm going to show this anyways, because at a bare minimum, the audio is very fascinating. And this is Draymond Green barking up a storm, and he's yelling at Buddy Hield. And the setup for this is there's some sort of scramble. I think a pass got tipped. The ball's like in the air, and Draymond's there. Buddy Hield is there. I think Durant or someone with the Suns is there. And Buddy Hield just shows no fight in terms of trying to get this loose ball, right? And maybe it's a tip ball. Maybe that's not the proper vernacular. Whatever you call this thing. It was just a scramble, and Buddy Hield was clearly not putting the effort in. And Draymond had enough. And Draymond starts yelling at Buddy Hield on the court, where everyone can, like, if you're watching on TV, you can hear it. Like, Chase Center is dead silent, so you're hearing the only way to justify this is to show it to everyone. So I'm going to show the clip. I hope it doesn't get flagged and taken down, because if it does, then there'll just be a gap here. It's going to skip over it for the recorded show. So here is Draymond Green yelling at Buddy Hield right after this play, and pay particularly close attention to the audio, which I found an absolute delight. I think this is just awesome all around. Check it out and enjoy. Here we go.
You're just trying to think about your shot selection. Draymond had to shoot that with the shot clock running down. But you saw Draymond's velocity there. Hey, break the fuck up! Enough of the sloppy passes. We got to win this game. Everybody has to be accountable. Air ball.
Wake the F up. I think you heard that. I hope you did. So Draymond was not happy with Buddy. And you saw Buddy trying to be like, yeah. No, Draymond was not stoked on that. I don't blame him, because Buddy Hield has been a problem for a while now. Buddy Hield his numbers tonight. Remember at the beginning of the season, all the narratives, and I'm not blaming anyone, because Buddy Hield was having a great start. I was excited. We all were. Buddy was making us forget that Klay Thompson was a splash brother and a pivotal part of the Warriors dynasty. We had moved on for about 2 weeks, and then Buddy Hield suddenly started justifying what all the Pacers fans, the Kings fans, the Sixers fans were saying about him. Buddy Hield tonight played 14 minutes, 47 seconds. So the box score you look at might say 15. In those 14 minutes, 47 seconds, he was 0 of 7 from the field. All 7 of those field goal attempts were 3-point attempts. So he was 0 of 7 from beyond the line, had a Tony Snell type night, except he did have 1 assist and 1 steal. But 0 points, 0 of 7 from deep, no rebounds, did have 1 assist and 1 steal, and that's Buddy Hield's night. And so when you're looking at the offense struggling and thinking to yourself, what's going on here? Why is the offense struggling? Why are the Warriors winning games by scoring 109 points? It's because Buddy Hield he's Buddy Hield, and it just sucks. Now, Carlos Padilla in the chat writing that Lindy Waters has got to go, and I'm not disagreeing with you there. I mean, Lindy Waters is not doing much either. Lindy Waters tonight, he played 13 minutes 35 seconds, and he made 1 3-point shot. That was his total scoring. He had 3 points, better than the 0 he put up against the Clippers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That 3 was clutch. It was in the fourth quarter, I think, but it was important, I remember. But yeah, this team has problems. They missed Moses Moody tonight. It's the fact that Lindy Waters and Buddy Hield were both brought in for spacing, for 3-point shooting, and they're flailing. They're just awful at it on a lot of nights. I mean, I know they have good nights here and there, but there's a lot of nights that they're having bad nights. And the fact that Buddy and Lindy combined for 3 points, no bueno, not good. Sean asking, why am I up at now 4:09 a.m.? Because, again, I had a power outage all day. I did not regain power until, I think, 9 p.m. tonight, approximately. Thank you, PG&EU. Pieces of S, and as a result, I had to watch the Warriors replay, and I finished watching that replay around 2 in the morning. And the adrenaline was pumping because that was a hell of a game, and I couldn't wait. And on top of that, I just knew there were people around the world who might catch the show live. I know there are night owls who exist in this world. There are vampires who exist in this world. My dad included. He's up all night. So. That's not me, and I'm believe me, I'm fading. We're gonna end this thing soon because I don't know how I'm doing this in all honesty, and I'm sorry if I do not sound coherent. I really do, but I just thought, what the hell? Let's just do a super late Saturday Night Live show. It is Saturday night as well as the holidays, so if we're gonna do something like this, now's the time. Yeah. So, and Sean, you're in New Zealand, so there you go. Okay, so maybe. Yeah, and Levi, yeah, I squint normally anyways. Like if I smile, my eyes get squinty. It's just how I am physically. I can't really control that. But tonight I'm exhausted. Yeah, I can barely keep my eyes open right now. Ramar Hernandez adding that ESPN is giving the flowers to Jonathan Kuminga. Good. I like that. So anyways, the point is, this team has issues with shooting, but Draymond Green, thankfully, barking up a storm, letting Buddy know very well that was not cool. And so here is Draymond Green after the game, during his post-game press conference, talking about that moment. And actually, let me just double check and make sure that is the right clip. No, that was not the right clip. Like, here is the right clip. And this is courtesy of Anthony Slater. I'm going to play a couple of Draymond clips here. I'm going to play this one first. And again, thanks to Anthony Slater for uploading this on his Threads account. This is Draymond talking about the Buddy Hield incident. And then I'm going to play another soundbite where he talks about Kaminga. And I love that clip as well. But we're going to first listen to Draymond talking about his leadership tonight, more specifically pertaining to Buddy Hield. Here's Draymond. This clip is, I don't know how long it is. Just enjoy.
Mike's caught you kind of lightning into Buddy Hield tonight. We heard about Steph kind of, having the player meeting the other day. How much right now is it on you are you just trying to light a fire under this team a little bit?
For sure. As a leader, you have to try different methods. Sometimes you go to a guy, sometimes you don't. Buddy, I've played with Buddy now for 30 games. Trying to learn what makes him tick, you got to try different methods. Like I said, some guys you go to, Jonathan Kuminga, I go to, and I say, hey, this is what I need you to do. Look at this way, and he'll go do it. If I yell at him, I don't think he's going to do it. He ain't going to listen. He's going to get out of here, right? Steph, sometimes I go to him, sometimes I yell at him. He reacts to both. as a leader, one thing I learned from Coach is all about leadership. You have to lead guys. If you think you're going to lead a team, you're an idiot. You have to lead guys that make up a team. But leading someone doesn't look the same as leading the next guy. And you got to figure out what makes guys tick, what gets a guy going. And so I'm still figuring that out, and to go at Buddy the way I did, we needed that in that moment. We're flat, we just turn the ball over, lock in. And that's no shot at Buddy. Dennis was at me the other day. He's been here for 2 weeks, and he was at me the other day. Great. It is what it is. Slow-mo called me out the other day. Dre, we getting punked. That's on you. Got you. No problem, right? Mike's catch everything today, but I don't care. Because anything I'll say it right into the mic. I don't give a damn. So it was needed. And we need Buddy Hield to play great. We need Buddy Hield to make shots. And we have all the confidence in the world that Buddy will make shots. But we got a post feed and you got a 6-foot guy on you, get the ball there. It's simple. We're 16 and 15. We don't love this. So do we just keep doing the same thing and sit back on our hands like, oh, it's going to change at some point, or do you make a change? I know what it looks like to win. I know what it takes to win. So as a leader, it's on you to figure out what it takes to help this team win. And if that's mixing it up with a guy every now and then, if that's yelling, then you do that. But don't be the guy that can't be yelled at. And I'll never be that guy. A teammate yell at me, great. I may say something back. Oh, well, guess what? Buddy said something back to me. We're not dictators. It's just what you say doesn't go and everyone has to listen. No, he said something back. I said something back. He said something back. I said something back. Great. And we moved on. And that's how it's got to be. It's not always going to be peaches and cream, whoever thinks that are idiots. Lost 3 in a row. And we have a turnover in a critical part of the game where we need to get a good shot. Let's get that shot. I've happened to play a lot of championship basketball, a lot of meaningful basketball. Buddy hasn't had the opportunity to play a bunch of meaningful basketball in this league. Guess what? It's our job to make sure he understands what that means. And if people don't like it, so be it. That's why they don't have 4 championships and I do.
Mike's
Bam! And the mic drop on that. Look, that's we're done with multimedia from there with sound. That was awesome. That's why, despite all the drama, despite even the pool incident, which no one supports, no one condones, it was an awful move. It was a dumb move. This was the right move. Use your words, not your fist. And those were fantastic words. He's absolutely right. You cannot have a blanket approach when it comes to leadership with everyone, because every individual is different. They have their own perspectives. They have their own thresholds. You have to treat every individual differently. Kudos to Draymond Green for excellent words there. Fantastic words, echoing his old coach from Michigan State. Good stuff there. Good stuff. That was absolutely. And look, JR, you're right as well. It's all good until you sucker punch somebody or choke. I get it, but in this case, he didn't do that. So I'm gonna take those words and take the incident and take the high road there in terms of being positive and in terms of the fact that, again, it was just, it was strictly verbal, and I don't even think it was verbal abuse. So there you go. Yeah. And speaking of Draymond, as Gamer F2P mentions that his offense is back. We saw it last year when he came just shy of 40% shooting from the three-point line. Tonight, Draymond Green, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from deep. The three-point shooting is no longer like some anomaly. Like, it's a part of the game again. And again, Kalena Azubuike brought up in college, I think he shot 39% from deep. So it's not like this is something strange to him, being an offensive player. It's just he abandoned it for a while because it wasn't needed, and it's needed now. So Draymond Green on the night, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, no triple single. Draymond Green also on this evening with those 3 3-pointers. I want to give him some acknowledgement here, and I'm officially like I need to go to sleep, so we're done here after this. But Draymond Green is now 3rd on the all-time list of Golden State Warriors 3-point shots made in franchise history. Stephen Curry is obviously number 1. He currently has 3,853 career three-pointers. Klay Thompson, 2nd on the list for most three-pointers made in Warriors franchise history, 2,481. And Draymond Green, 3rd now with 702. He passes Jason Richardson, who is now 4th on the all-time franchise list. And then Tim Hardaway, the crossover sensation, rounding out your top 5. Folks, thank you so much for joining the show. I'm done. I'm officially hitting a wall. I want to make sure no one has a paid chat. Some comments in the chat as well. Amin mentioning earlier. Oh, and Trace Jackson Davis. Okay, I got to mention him real fast because he deserves it. It's worthy. And I want to more specifically look at Trace Jackson Davis's last 6 games. And I just closed that window, and I'm literally fading right now. It is 4:20. Oh, it's 4:20! Happy 4:20. But Trace Jackson Davis, I just don't want to ignore the fact that he has been a huge part of this in terms of why the Warriors won tonight and why you're seeing him play a lot more minutes. So, Trace Jackson Davis tonight, first of all, in 23 minutes, 13 seconds of play, 6 of 11 from the field. And you see touch on his shots sometimes. Like, the offensive skill is there close range. He had 10 rebounds, 16 points. He's your center. And I love that. He's establishing himself. Kevon Looney is great. And look, Dub Nation's going to love him forever. I'm going to love him forever. But that expiring deal, it's got to be used for an improvement on this roster. It has to. And Trace Jackson Davis, again, solidifying himself as the starting center, as the primary big. It doesn't mean that I don't want Nikola Vucevic. I think this team would be a substantially better if Vucevic is your starting center, Trace Jackson Davis comes off the bench, but that's also an awesome center rotation right there. But Trace Jackson Davis, I want to highlight the last 6 games because starting on December 21st, he played 26 minutes against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a game they won, 15 points, 9 rebounds. Then against the Pacers, he played 23 minutes, 13 points, 8 rebounds. Then against the Lakers, he played 26 minutes, 11 points, 9 rebounds. Then against the Clippers, just last night, 15 points, 9 rebounds. And he played 31 minutes in that game. And then tonight, again, 16 points, 10 boards, 4 blocks tonight as well. Kudos to him. And one thing I'm seeing with him, besides the fact that he's a lob threat in addition to Jonathan Kuminga, he makes these easy buckets, so he's helping you offensively. He's one of the only shot blockers on this team. But one thing I'm noticing, which I think is correlating with why we're seeing an increase in minutes, is his defense has improved to the point where when you see opposing teams making these switches or forcing these switches, so suddenly you see Trace Jackson Davis on a guard. And there was one play in particular, I saw this tonight, where Trace Jackson Davis was switched. I think it was on Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal had a solid night for the Suns tonight. 28 points in this one. He was 4 of 11 from deep. Kevin Durant, by the way, led all scorers for the Suns. He did not play better than Jonathan Kuminga, who, side note, the Warriors got as a result of the Kevin Durant trade. In case you forgot, Durant had 31 points, Bradley Beal had 28. But so Trayce Jackson-Davis got switched up, and I think it was Bradley Beal he was guarding. And he played solid D. He got a stop, and that wasn't the first time I've noticed that. And I think the reason why I bring that up is because I think a huge reason why you're seeing this increase in trust from Steve Kerr when it comes to giving Trayce Jackson-Davis an increase in minutes is because he's improved his defensive play on these smaller guards. So, and that's one of the biggest appeals with Kevon Looney. When you see opposing teams making these switches, Looney is not vulnerable. I mean, look, he's not Looney. I'm not sitting here saying Looney can guard, elite point guards out there. They're most likely going to blaze by him, but he's competent. And Trayce Jackson-Davis is also making himself at least competent when it comes to defending opposing wings when these switches happen. And it's giving Kerr a lot more comfort and a lot more trust in terms of having him out there. So kudos to Trayce Jackson-Davis, whose game has increased as well in terms of performance and quality and results. Yeah, there you go. And I think now we're done. Any final thoughts in the chat real fast? Keith Willis, yeah. Good morning, Keith Willis. This is good night for me. I'm going to crash here in just a moment. Just want to make sure nobody paid for a chat comment. Aaron Bartolome back at the beginning of the show mentioning that Steve Kerr likes to have two guards on the floor, and their shooting guard like a Buddy Hield, like a Lindy Waters, and Moses Moody. Slides to the three. You're right. He likes his three-guard lineups. Wait until GP2 comes back. Don't forget, you see him as the third guard. It's easy to stomach when GP2 is it's like him and Steph, and then you have three big dudes around him. Like let's say it's those two, and then it's Wiggins, Kaminga, Dre. It's like, all right, I guess I can stomach that. Or it's GP2 and Pods, and then you have Kaminga, Wiggins, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. It's like, okay, I can stomach that. Yet when it's GP2, Pod, Steph, that's when I want to vomit. That's because it's not working. It's not effective. Other teams. Picture yourself as the other team, as a player on that other team. Picture yourself as Kevin Durant for a moment. Pretend you're him, and you're looking at the Warriors, and you're seeing that lineup. And GP2 is not playing tonight, but let's say you're looking at the Warriors, and you're looking out in front of you, and you see Dennis Schroeder. Side note, real fast, Schroeder, huge shot at the end of the game. That was a massively huge shot. Another very poor shooting night for him, but Dennis Schroeder had a solid opening quarter. He was part of the reason why the Warriors got out to that lead. He was playing with confidence and force. There was something extra there with energy and effort that I noticed a subtle difference in his game. But Dennis Schroeder, despite the fact he was 4 of 13 from the field, just 1 of 7 from deep, that 7th three-point attempt is what went in. And it was near the end of the game. It was huge. It was clutch. Dennis Schroeder finished tonight with 11 points in this game, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. It was an improvement, folks. It was the first time I saw him in a Warriors uniform, and I was encouraged for a change. But the point is, when Kevin Durant is looking at a Warriors team and he's seeing, let's say, Schroeder, Podziemski, and GP2, there is no fear in his eyes. LeBron James, I didn't see any stress in his body language at all, because all he looks at when he sees the Warriors is a bunch of little dudes that I could easily shoot over, that pose no threat defensively. That has to stop, man. God, man, just someone has to hammer that to Kerr. Please, enough with these 3-guard lineups. It results in failure. But the end result tonight was not failure. The Golden State Warriors win. It was a beautiful game. Thanks for putting up with me on still awake now at close to 4:30 in the morning. Thank you again. The Warriors come out 109-105 winners. We're back at this Monday night. Hopefully Sophia Jones will join me. Until then, for all the vampires out there who joined me in tonight's show, and in reality, most of you were not vampires. You were actually just in the international crowd, living your normal lives with normal hours. So, but thanks for joining me, and go Warriors, baby. That was a good win. That was a very good win. And we'll be back Monday night when they play the Cleveland Cavaliers. That should be an interesting one. Until then, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And bye-bye. Bye-bye.